Hey guys, what's happening? So we are back for more all-new Venom with issue 3, where once again we cross another name off the list as we get one step closer to finding out who is the all-new Venom. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, we pick up right where we left off, at the warehouse in Manhattan that used to belong to Madame Masque, where Chance and Dr. Fortisimo were waiting for the all-new Venom to show up. And it was one of those things where they had people spread out across a number of locations that could have been possible hideouts, with this one being a possibility if the all-new Venom is actually Madame Masque. And even though Chance didn't believe this was likely, we find out that he placed a wager on who's inside the symbiote, which is why he went for the headshot in the last issue. Because come to find out, Chance thought it was going to be Luke Cage. But if all new Venom was Mayor Luke Cage, then this headshot would have just revealed his face instead of just going straight through. So now Chance is just like, whoever you are, all new Venom, you just lost me $1,000. And Chance can't even really remember who he made the bet with, but he just figured it was Mayor Cage because of the similar height, nearly the same build, and Chance was like, hey, you can tell the mayor is missing the action. So yeah, because of these things, Chance believed that he was making a safe bet. But now after seeing the shot go straight through, this now tells them whoever it is someone shorter than 6 feet. So now Chance is like, oh, triple or nothing, it's Madame Masque. And mind you, Dylan is still watching all of this from off to the side, and he still has his suspicions that it could possibly be Robbie Robertson or Rick Jones. But right here, Venom's just like, that's a big bet, Chance. Know what we say? See you and raise. But instead of raising the price on the bet, Venom raises 2 wrist guns, which right away just has Chance like, come on man, the wrist guns are my thing. And the other AIM guys who are here, they're not taking any chances. They see Venom armed, and they're just like, open fire. And that's where all new Venom's just like, okay, whatever you say. And I can just imagine the dude that said open fire is looking at Venom like, dude, I was talking to them, not you. And when they ask Venom, what is this stuff? Venom's just like our take on impact webbing. Gooey, sticky symbiote web fluid in a hard candy shell. It hits like paintball, sticks like glue. And one of these guys, he ends up squeezing the trigger like right as he's hit. So the other guy tries to quickly tell him, it's okay, you still got 5 seconds to access the energy matrix, invent the exponential concussive force through the secondary fusion vector displacement chamber, and boom, this thing just blows up. And that just has Venom like, maybe next time build a safety feature that takes less time to do than to say, because clearly that was too much. So dude just gives them a thumbs up and is like, thank you for the feedback. But this moment just leaves Venom wide open for a sonic attack from Dr. Fortisimo, who cranks it up to 150 decibels. And he's well aware of the fact that the Venom symbiote's grown more resistant to sonic attacks over the years, but he also knows that this amount is enough to pack a punch. And he doesn't even care that Chance is in the line of fire right now. Like, he's just letting these sonics go off. And mind you, for a while now, there's been this whole thing with Dr. Fortisimo constantly telling Chance to get his name right, because a lot of the time Chance will just call him Fortisimo or something and leave off the doctor, and that's leading to something we'll talk about in a little bit. But in the here and now, with this warehouse being nowhere near durable enough to withstand this type of attack indoors, this leads to the sonic disruption breaking the glass that Dylan was looking through, which gets completely destroyed, cutting Dylan on the face and knocking him back. And so when Venom hears this, regardless of who's inside the symbiote, Venom is still Dylan's parent, and Venom didn't know that Dylan was here. So when Venom finds out that Dylan's close by and that he was hurt by this sonic attack, this leads to the symbiote immediately getting that parental power boost. And the next thing we see is Venom drop down on Dr. Fortisimo's head. But I also believe with the doctor bringing up how Venom has grown a stronger resistance to sonics over the years, it's a bit of a reference to the whole symbiote evolution thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of that in Eddie Brock Carnage too. But right now, Venom attacking the doctor, this really boils down to the fact that Venom doesn't mind feeling pain. And in recent years, that's almost come off like a bit of self-punishment, where we've seen the Venom symbiote endure and be like, okay, well, I probably deserve this to some degree, because of things that the symbiote's been involved with in the past, or the bad things it had done in the early days of bonding with Eddie, and also more recently when Dylan died, and Venom thought that Dylan was gone for good. This took the symbiote to a really dark place, where it even said that it would never bond with Dylan again. But fast forward to now, under no circumstance is it okay for anyone to inflict pain on Dylan. And that's when Venom's like, you want to hurt us, doctor? Fine, we're used to pain. But when you hurt a child, when you hurt my son, that's when we put our foot down. And that's when Venom just stomps both of the doctor's hands. Or at least his hand cannons, because we're not shown if his actual hands are crushed as well. But even now with Venom's back turned to Chance, Venom knows that Chance has a shot lined up. And that's when they more or less tell him like, you have your shot, you see the golden bullseye. Just one question though, how do you like your odds? And right there, Chance is just looking like, you know what, I've been losing bets all night, I think I'm gonna call it. And instead of just letting Chance get away, they web him up, while also nearby we see Dylan, who's okay for the most part aside from the cut. But right here, when Dylan tries to sneak away, this only leads to him getting snatched up by Venom before he can go anywhere. And right away, Venom just hits Dylan with the parent talk, like, do you know what time it is, young man? But Dylan doesn't find this to be funny in the slightest, cause Venom broke the bond again, ran away again, and left Dylan with nobody. Again. So you can tell why it's not a joking matter to him. And that's where Venom's like, sorry, it's the Spider-Man in me, which was a perfect response. And that's when Dylan's like, or the Rick Jones in you. Cause again, so far in this series, Dylan's been like the detective trying to figure out who's inside the Venom symbiote. And as it turns out, Venom doesn't even want Dylan to know. And there's really no explanation here as to why, cause for the most part it's just Venom telling Dylan to drop it, as if Venom's trying to keep this secret in order to protect Dylan. And also when Venom tells Dylan here that he shouldn't be trying to figure out who the host is, and how instead Dylan should be at home with his foster parents, since Flash hooked Dylan up with a family, Dylan goes on to say how Flash made some sort of deal in order to pull this off, and also how Flash looked out for Bren, Normie, and the Rascal symbiote, which still leaves us to be updated on much of how that went down after Venom War, because also when Dylan asked Venom here, did you even think to ask why Sleeper isn't with me? Where in that case, once again going back to Venom War, all we know is when the Venom symbiote left, Sleeper was also taken away when the Alchemax team came in, which is likely where Sleeper still is now, and it's likely why Venom responds here saying, I know where Sleeper is, Dylan, I'm working on it. And that just has Dylan like, not we. And Venom's just like, we are doing our best. And you can tell that Venom's still not trying to say too much, especially in front of Chance and the others who are webbed up here. And it just has Chance like, oh, don't mind me, I'm missing Secret Hospital for this. I have to get my soap opera from somewhere. And it's just like, oh man, this dude watched soap operas. Man, I didn't know that was still a thing. But on the topic of soap operas, it gets kind of emotional here. Because Venom tells Dylan, I never abandoned you. You're safe with your new foster parents. And your safety is my first priority, always. The bond between us is the bond between parent and child. I would never break that. And right there, Dylan's like, okay, so come back. Only for Venom to tell him, I wish I could, son. I wish we all could be a family again, but that's just not how things can be right now. It's nobody's fault. It's just how it is. But it doesn't mean I love you any less. And you know, it really makes for this emotional moment between parent and child. Only for Dylan to mess it up and be like, okay, now I'm thinking Robbie Robertson. Cause it's like he's still in detective mode, and Venom's like, will you stop already? But after this, Dylan asks a very valid question. Because next he's like, do you at least know where Dad is? I checked the news every day after we got rid of the zombiotes. He was sighted near that church, Our Lady of Saints. And Venom stops him right there because Venom knows that church. Because that's where him and Eddie first bonded, and it's also where Carnage killed Dylan not too long ago. But Dylan goes on to say they didn't find his body there or anywhere nearby. So he's out there somewhere. Unless he's right here and this is some sort of sick joke. I mean, it's kind of like, man, Dylan, that would be messed up. But we already know at this point what's happened to Eddie at Our Lady of Saints Church after the events of Venom War, where Eddie and Carnage made a deal and bonded together to save each other. And so as of right now, we got an Eddie Brock Carnage running around. And I have a link to that playlist in the description for anyone who wants to get caught up on what's going on there. Because in the here and now, neither Venom or Dylan know what's going on with Eddie. But Venom does tell Dylan here, I know if he was dead, but I can't sense him at all. Wherever he's gone, I can't follow. And it's like part of this has to do with what happened towards the end of Venom War when Dylan was Codex and he had to stab the corrupted Eddie to stop him, because as Codex, Dylan has the ability to separate individuals from a hive. So it makes sense that Venom wouldn't be able to find Eddie now. Because even going back to the whole thing with Eddie now being bonded to Carnage, Carnage has an entirely separate hive, which is something that we've seen a lot of emphasis get put on, like back in Extreme Carnage, as well as the most recent Carnage run that led into Venom War. So basically, as of right now, both Carnage and Eddie are in a world of their own. Though I imagine it's possible that we could see a twist to that somewhere down the line, since both Liz Allen and Andy Benton are currently wearing Carnage hybrid symbiotes. But there's no telling if that'll turn into anything at any point. I just wanted to at least mention it, as far as Liz and Andy. But in the here and now, we see Dylan go back to the mystery case of who's inside the symbiote. And he tells Venom here that he's down to 3 suspects, since it's not Luke Cage. Cause Dylan's just like, alright, Rick Jones, the martial artist, jokester, Robbie Robertson, the doting father figure, or the one suspect who'd know this safe house existed. And that's when Dylan's like, is it you in there, Madam Masque? Only for a voice to come in from the side like, clearly not. as they're met by the arrival of Madame Masque. And she more or less plays around with the idea of her actually being the all-new Venom and this being an imposter, at least at first, before she goes on to tell Venom thanks for covering her escape. So next Venom asks Madame Masque how did she escape exactly. So she goes on to explain how she had these directional sonic drills that allowed her to get through the floor, and it very much feels like she's stealing Dylan's Scooby-Doo moment here. Cause Dylan thought he had it figured out for a moment, only for Madame Masque to step in and be like, oh well, let me tell you how I did what I did. But eventually this just leads to Madame Masque giving Venom the option to just leave with Dylan as if they never saw her, but Venom just doesn't go for it, cause she's like, do we have a problem? And Venom tells her when we see bad guys, we always have a problem. And that's when Madame Masque is like, alright, let's do this. So she opens fire, and these are incendiary rounds by the way. So whenever she hits something that's hard enough, it just bursts into flames. So right away, Venom grabs Dylan and tells him to stay flat and crawl for an exit, avoid the smoke, so while Dylan goes low, Venom can go high. Cause Madame Masque is giving them no other choice but to try to stop this as quickly as possible. But when Venom knocks her back, things kind of get worse here for a moment, because she goes flying back into a crate that's full of even more incendiary ammunition, and it creates this situation where now she's like an injured animal backed into a corner. And she basically says that here when she tells Venom, nice, very nice. You wounded me, Venom, but that's when I'm at my most dangerous. You know I won't go without a fight. Shoot one web and I'll detonate all my ammo. Burn this whole building down. Your son's already found an exit if he's an obedient child, which I'm sure he is. But what about the others? Does everyone else you webbed up in this death trap have to burn alive so you can score a win? And that's when Chance is off to the side like, oh Venom, I really don't like these odds. Cause the fire that's already going is heading towards Chance and the others. So Madame Masque is basically like, what's it gonna be? Are you gonna put out the fire or be the lethal protector? And that's where Venom chooses to put out the fire and save Chance, Dr. Fortisimo, and the others, which of course allowed Madame Masque to get away. And so following this, we jump back to Dylan, who's crawling back in the window like, yeah man, I got away with sneaking out. Only for him to look up and see Paul standing there waiting on him. And Paul's like, MJ called, worried sick, just like I've been for the past couple hours. Not that you care, right? And it's like, come on man, take it easy. And so Dylan tells him, you don't know me, Top Knot. You don't know anything about what I'm going through. You're not my dad. And that's when Paul tells him, no, I'm not. Unlike him, I'm here. And when he said that, I was like, dang, Paul done found his inner savage. And from there, Paul just goes on to say how he's trying to do his best, which sounds like he sees this whole situation as a second chance of being a father or something of that sort for Dylan. But he just goes on to tell Dylan that he's going to give MJ a call back, I guess to let her know that Dylan's home. So he walks out the room and tells Dylan to get some sleep. But mind you, after that whole I'm not your father statement, Dylan ain't said a word. And following this, we go back to Madame Masque, who's having a conversation with someone we're not shown just yet. And we'll see who this is in just a moment here. But early on, with the two of them talking about common goals, Madame Masque says, I want AIM under control, and you want them under your control. We can help each other. And this person goes on to tell her, I've heard you met one of the up-and-comers, referring to AIM, with the up-and-comer being Dr. Fortisimo. And they go on to say Dr. Fortisimo's real name is Alvin Snodgrass. And I'm not sure if that's an M Squad reference, but it just trips me out how he was getting on Chance about the whole name thing. And Dr. Fortisimo's not even his real name. But Madame Masque goes on to tell this person that Venom took care of them and everyone else before she arrived. And after giving Venom the whole ultimatum so she can make her escape, she was able to pick up this vial. And when she holds it up, the person she's talking to is like, is that? But she cuts them off and she says, a full dose. Guess what I want to do to you with it? And that's when this person tells her, this is why I like you, Whitney. You have vision. More people should appreciate that. But that's why Andrew Forson needs to go, isn't it? He's too small-minded. Shall we begin? And that's when we see that she's talking to MODOK, because he's come back to regain control of AIM. So yeah, this now brings back MODOK, who's been gone since Fall of X, I want to say. So yeah, I'm curious to see what he's been up to while he's been gone. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.